Hi guys, it's Sigrid, and today I'm going to be talking to you about all 18 of the books that I read in July 2020. Okay, so let's get started with the very first book that I read, and this is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I read this book because I watched a vlog from Chandler Ainsley, and she was doing a taste test where she sampled the books that another booktuber said that were their favorite books, and I remember her specifically crying, and so I was like, I have to read this book because anytime I read a book, I see someone crying, I want to read the book just to see if it can make me cry. The book didn't make me cry. It was emotional, but it didn't get to the point where I actually cried. But I did think that it was a decent book. It was really nice. I rated it 4 stars. So it follows this kid who is being hunted by this monster in the shape of a tree. So every night it comes to him in the backyard around the same time, and it says that it's going to tell him like 3 stories, and the time that he tells the last story, the kid has to tell him a story, and it's going to be the truth that he's been holding in. And I just thought it was a really great book. It was really written very well. I didn't see the plot twist coming. It was something that I didn't expect, and I thought it was really good. The next book that I read in July was A Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. This book was just so amazing. I actually talked about it in another video. I rated it 5 stars. It's written completely in verse, and this was also part of Chandler's video, taste test video, and it's so good. I recommend listening to the audiobook because that's what I did, and then it was so good that I went out and got the physical copy. It's not that much. It was like $6. It's about this kid whose brother was killed in gun violence, and so he lives in this town where there's like rules that you have to kind of do. If someone takes your loved ones, then the rule is that you have the right to go and kill them. Like, you know, that's like the rules that they follow. And so the story picks up where he has a gun, he's getting on an elevator, and you know, each time the elevator stops on the floor, someone gets in and tries to talk him out of it. And it's just so well written, it's so good, and it makes me feel, it really does. And like, it's just so good, so you guys have to go get this. The next book that I read is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and I rated this book 5 stars. It's been on my library loan shelf for like forever, and I just randomly picked it up because I was in the mood for a good mystery, and it did not disappoint. It actually reminded me so much of Nancy Drew. I don't know if a lot of people say that, but I'm actually rereading Nancy Drew, and I'll talk about that later, but it just gives me the same feeling that I felt as a kid when I read Nancy Drew. Reading a good mystery and like trying to solve the case along with her and just feeling really connected to the character. This book actually inspired me to start rereading Nancy Drew, and that's how I know that it's not written the same. It reminds me of the Nancy Drew computer games. So I grew up playing the computer games as well, and this book reminds me of that more than the Nancy Drew mysteries that I read as a kid, but it's so good. So it's about this teenage girl who, for her high school research project, she decides that she wants to solve a murder. Now, I will say, typically, I would get a little annoyed by the fact that a teenager thinks that she can solve this mystery that these grown-ass police officers was unable to solve. But it's written so well that I kind of excuse that, because, you know, that's a really pet peeve of mine. It's just, you know, but I excuse that, and it's written so well that I'm like really like into it. It's really fun. It is a plot twist like galore, and it just gets you really involved. Like, she writes down like little notes in like a casebook, and it's written in the book. A lot of the plot twists you don't really see coming, and it's just overall 5 out of 5 stars. I really wish that she would continue on with the series and the character will just start solving mysteries, because I promise you I will buy every one of those books. So the next book that I read is Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. I forgot the full title of this, but I think it says something about the adventures of a black teenage wizard. I rated this book 3 stars, and it's not a bad book. I actually think that if I would have read it in the right mood, I would have given it 5 stars, but I kind of feel like it was a little misrepresented as to what it was about. I don't know if that was intentional or if it's just like what I heard, but I was under the impression that this book would have magic in it because of the title, Black Teenage Wizard, and you know, she has powers. But no, when I read the book, basically the magical powers is just a symbolism for Echo Brown being able to survive, you know, difficult situations that is in her life. And, you know, I don't mind it. And that doesn't make it a bad book. It's just when I started, that was the mood that I was in for fantasy and for reading about magic. And what I got was something completely different. It's a book about the Black experience. It is a lot of triggers. In this book, there's mention of drug use, there's mention of rape, there's mention of child neglect, child abuse, just so much. It's just too much for one person. Like, yeah, it's like no trigger warnings at all. Like, I'm in here thinking that it's gonna be this fun story about a magical teenage wizard, and then I get all of this stuff. So had I just read it knowing what to kind of expect, if it was a book about the Black experience, I would have loved it. And I enjoyed the book when I was reading it. It's just like I was just so turned off that it wasn't the book that I expected, that I was like, I have to, you know, be honest about this and give it 3 stars. Like, I can't rate it higher than that because I feel like it was a little dishonest to market the book as a fantasy when it's not. The next book I read is One of Us is Lying by McManus, and I rated this book 3 stars as well. I was being very generous with that because I did not like this book at all. I was bored the entire time. I didn't like any of the characters. I couldn't distinguish between the characters. This was actually a book that I DNF'd last year, I believe, and so I gave it a try. I even tried using the audiobook just to see if I can really get into it, and I finished on the audiobook because I had the ebook, and I could not get into this book. Like, one of the things that I've learned about myself is just I have outgrown the whole Pretty Little Liars thing where there's teenagers, they're being blackmailed, and it just seems to go on and on. I'm not really into that. It's something that I used to be into. I used to love the show, and then like towards my college years, I was just like, you know what? Why don't they just tell their parents? This would all be over if they would just tell their parents. And that's when I know that my adult brain just not like that. It's kind of like The Breakfast Club meets Pretty Little Liars, where it starts off with all of the main characters being in detention together, and then during that time one of them dies and the rest of them is being blackmailed because they're saying that one of them killed them. It sounds really good, and if I were to like hear anybody else saying that, that sounds like a really good book, but yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't interesting to me. So I don't think that I'm gonna pick up the next book. It didn't fit well for me, and I know there's a lot of people who read this book and rated it 5 stars, thought it was amazing, you know, the best thing since sliced bread, but for me, I'd rather have bread. So the next book I read was With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I rated this book 5 stars, of course, because I just heard so much about this book, and I was like, I know I'm gonna like it. Like, I just know, I feel it in my bones that I'm gonna like this book. It's gonna be so great. I got it and I loved it. I listened to the audiobook, but I also kind of read along as well, and 5 stars. So this book follows a single mother in high school, and it's written so well, but it's more of a piece of life kind of thing. It just follows her in her journey of wanting to be a chef, but also wanting to take care of her kid, not wanting to date and make any drastic changes in her life because she always puts her kid first. She's a very mature teenager. She's going on this cooking trip overseas. I forgot where it is, but like, she's a really good cook. Throughout this book, there are recipes that, you know, you could probably try. Hello, it looks so pretty. It is so freaking pretty. She talks about why she named her child Emma, and I completely agree with her because my name is Sigrid, and like, I feel like Sigrid isn't like a very, like, you know, people can't really like tell my ethnicity by that name, but she said something. Okay, I'm just gonna read. Anyhow, Tyrone was late on the day I filled out the birth certificate, so Emma it was. I know a name alone can't guarantee new opportunities, but at the very least, it'll give her a chance to get in the room, to let other people realize she's someone they want to learn more about. And I've always agreed with that. I always said that I want to name my child something where people can't discriminate on their name from their resume or their application. I want to give them a fighting chance because I do feel that there are a lot of people, like, you'll look at a resume and they won't pick you because of your name, because they feel like they know you already. And I want you to have that opportunity, every opportunity, to get in that room and to tell them why they should hire you or pick you for whatever the reason is. The next book I read was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, and I rated this book 5 stars. Like everybody else, I've heard so much about this book, and so many people have said that this book have made them happy, made them smile, and I'm just like, you know me being a pessimist, I'm like, this book can't be all that. So I got it thinking, you know, I'm gonna be like, okay. No, this book was really great. I'm glad that I read it, and it made me so happy, and I rated it 5 stars. So it follows this girl, and she is in high school, and she is getting ready to go to college. She has her eye on this scholarship that is like a music scholarship, but she doesn't get it. The only other way that she can get the money to go to college is to apply to be prom queen, because at her school, the prom queen position comes with a significant scholarship. But the thing is, she's not your traditional popular girl that, you know, is your typical prom queen. She's actually very quiet, doesn't really, you know, she's not popular at all. So it's kind of like one of those 90s rom-com, like She's All That, like they fix her up to become, you know, prom queen or someone who's worthy of being prom queen. I think she might be a lesbian. I don't think that it's really disclosed exactly what her orientation is, but she falls in love with one of the girls who is also competing to be prom queen. And also she has to fake date another guy just to kind of, you know, get popularity points to win. And I just think that it's so good. I really love the character. I love her mind, her personality, the way that she thinks. She's very outspoken, and she's willing to stand up for things. I know the school that they go to, they have very strict rules, and they're so behind on the times because they're like, well, you can't come with a same-sex partner. You have to come dressed as the person you was born as. So if you were transgender, or, you know, if you feel like you prefer to wear other clothes, you can't come to the prom and, you know, address if you were born a boy. And so, you know, the main character kind of stands up and say, well, we're going to prom anyways, honey. So I just really love that. It's a really good story, but they do face a lot of adversity, and yeah, so you guys just have to read it. You will not be disappointed. The next book I read was The Black Flamingo from Dean Atta. So I listened to the audiobook for this. It was very short and very quick. It's about this boy who, I believe he is gay. He starts to explore drag. I rated it 3 stars. I don't feel as though the book moved me that much. I don't even remember like a lot from it. I did read it, yeah, towards the middle of July, so that could be it. And maybe I forgot the ultimate plot, but basically he faced a lot of, like, you know, stigma. I don't remember, like, there's just nothing from this book that I really remember that well. I don't know if maybe I just didn't pay attention to the audiobook, but like, yeah, I know a lot of people are rating it 5 stars, and I think that maybe it's because of the representation, but it just didn't resonate with me. It didn't, you know, change my life or just make anything. I'm very happy for the representation, but once again, like, it you know, I don't even remember the major plots of this story. So the next book I read was an arc sent to me by Adeyemi, and it is Beauty Mark, a verse novel of Marilyn Monroe. I rated this book 5 stars. If you ever come to my house, you will see pictures of Marilyn on the wall everywhere, and that's because I absolutely love her. The book is written in verse, but it is written in the voice of Marilyn, and it feels as though she's just talking to you and she's telling you her life story, like from her point of view, everything that she's gone through, and I just love it. It is so cute. It's a short. My favorite part of the book is when Marilyn kind of used her privilege, her white privilege, to stand up to a racist nightclub owner so that Ella Fitzgerald could sing in that bar. A difference in her career, Ella's career, and it, you know, and it's because Marilyn kind of stood up and say, hey, I'm not gonna come here if you don't let her sing, and if I come here, people are gonna come here because I'm famous. And so they decided to let Ella sing, and now she was like this famous jazz singer. It just tells me if Marilyn was here today, if she was born today with that same personality, she would be out protesting along with all of us for just our rights. And I love that about her. The next book I read, you guys know that I have been trying to follow along the Mortal Instruments series. I'm reading a little bit at a time. So I read the next book in the series, which is book 4, City of Fallen Angels. I have been rating them 5 stars so far because the adventure was just so up there, and I've just been like so like into it. All of the books have been interesting until now. So this book was a bit boring to me in some parts. There was some times where I just didn't care if I were to like pick it up again. So it wasn't as fun. I kind of feel like maybe she should have stopped at book 3. I don't want to say too much, but I rated it 3 stars because I just felt like it wasn't as good as the other ones. It wasn't as fun. It just didn't keep me as interested. I'm going to keep reading the rest in the series, but like, you know, this one kind of let me down a little bit. So I don't know what else to to say about it, so 3 stars. The next book I read is a memoir from Issa. She is, you know, the writer and creator of the show Insecure on Stars. I am a huge fan of the show. I absolutely love it. I love her. I remember wanting to get this book when it first came out, and I just didn't, and so I just took the chance and got it now. I rated it 4 stars. I should have probably given it 3.5 stars, quite honestly. It was okay. It wasn't life-changing like Becoming. So it's basically about the things that happen in her life because she's awkward and she's Black. But at times I feel like she just tries too hard to be funny. I don't know, it's not really, there's some times where she just be like, haha, and I'm just like, straight face, like, you know. Also, but there were some times where I read the book and I did laugh, and there were some times I read the book and I was like, oh, that happens to me all the time. So there were some times where I'm just like hit or miss. So that's why I gave it 3 stars, because I was like, sometimes I was feeling it and sometimes there were little boring parts. And also I feel like the organization, just the time jumps, like she'll go from her childhood to like teenage years and then adulthood and then childhood and then like, it's just, you know, it was just like, whoa. But I feel like I just wasn't a fan of the way it was organized. If I had to choose, I wouldn't recommend it to someone. I wouldn't say you have to go out and get this book. Like all of the other books that I rated 5 stars and 4 stars, I would say, yeah, you should definitely read it. But I feel like if you miss this book, it won't hurt. It's already an older book, so I mean, I'm actually unhauling the book, so that would be a later video, but it's one of the books that I will be giving away or donating to somewhere. So the next few books that I read, I told you that once I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I decided to challenge myself to reread the Nancy Drew novels that I read as a kid. And so I started in the month of July, and I read up from books 1 through 6. It starts with The Secret of the Old Clock. The second book is The Hidden Staircase. The third book is The Bungalow Mystery. The fourth book is Mystery at Lilac Inn. The fifth book is Secret of the Shadow Ranch, just so you guys know. This book was, the book series was written during a different time. And as a kid, I don't think I pulled out a lot of the things that were problematic or just not okay. But as an adult, I see it. I haven't came across anything racist just yet, but I have came across some fat shaming. And I don't like that when it comes to, you know, Nancy talking about her plump cousin. I'm just like, you know, and you know, whenever they talk about Nancy, oh, she's beautiful, she's an attractive girl, she's athletic, you know, it's just kind of like, oh, okay. And then I don't want to bring race into it all the time, but like, Nancy did a lot of stuff that if she was Black, she probably wouldn't have made it to book 2, because she would just be all like outside searching and looking for stuff, and I'm just like, girl, you are very privileged. Also, during this time, like, Nancy had a lot of freedom that when the book was written, like, women didn't really go around and like solve mystery and stuff. So that's one of the reasons why I like Nancy, because I do feel like Nancy had a lot to do with the feminism movement. Like, she really did. I feel it. She did a lot of stuff that women back then didn't do. And I feel like women just kind of like sat in their house because they couldn't leave, because they had husbands and stuff like that. And they read these books and they was like, I can be like Nancy Drew. Like, I can go around in my convertible, like, you know, doing random things. One of the reasons why Nancy reminded me so much of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is that, oh, another pet peeve of mine. When the person trying to solve the mystery, and then they try to go and confront the murderer without calling for backup or the cops or anything. What's the logic in that? Like, do you think they're gonna be like, oh, you caught me, like, you know, let me just go ahead and call the cops and, you know, turn myself? No, they're not gonna do that. They're gonna kill you. Like, you're on to them. Like, they've done this before. This is their life. Like, this is their lifestyle. They kill people. Like, why are you going to, like, that makes no freaking sense whatsoever. That's like the biggest pet peeve of, like, if I find out that you killed this person, why I'm gonna go up to you and be like, you killed this person? They're gonna be like, and I'm gonna kill you too. Like, I don't blame them at all, because I feel like that's the stupidest thing that you could do as a detective. You should have common sense and like report them or like call the tip line or something. Like, don't try to, you're not a cop. You have no fighting skills. they're just gonna kill you and get away with it. Like, okay, so I saved the best for last because this book is probably the best book that I have read in my life. And it is none other than Children of Blood and Bone. I've heard so much about this book, and I was a little intimidated to read it because it was so thick. And I remember doing a video and telling you guys that I'm so intimidated about this book because it's so freaking huge. And then I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just gonna dive in, and it is so good. I was trying to tell my friend to try to describe this book to my friends, and I was like, okay, so just think that it's like Black Panther but with magic. And they was like, that sounds like really good. I'm like, this book should be a movie. Like, how is this not a movie? How is this not a freaking movie? 5 stars. If I could give it 10 stars, I would. Like, this is so freaking good. This is so freaking good. The straw that broke the camel's back is when Bow Ties and Book, Jesse, when they said that a lot of YA is not cutthroat. It's not like, you know, I'm gonna kill you because we're all gonna die. If I'm gonna die, you're gonna fucking die too. I was like, yes, I would love that, because, you know, YA really isn't cutthroat. And I feel like I think similar. Like, you know, I think that more people probably think like this than the traditional characters probably think. And so, like, when Jesse kind of suggested this book, I was like, I might as well just try it. So I started reading it, and it was so good. I literally could picture everything, and it made me happy because the characters look like me. Okay, in this situation, the characters do not look like me because they have white hair. So they don't, but it's still a Black character. It's based in Africa, I believe, and they are just, oh my god, it's so freaking good. Currently, actually, I just finished with the second one, and I will say it's not as good as the first one, but I don't think that you can hold up to that standard. So I'm just so happy. Like, okay, those are all the books that I read in July. I'm so sorry that this video is so long, but I'm just super excited to just go over everything and tell you guys. I can't wait to do my August video with you, and I guess until next video, I will see you. So bye.